got to understand here the educational program that you have to be able to figure out whether it will go on the right lines, where the people will end up in a situation where they can be able to really control themselves. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, the people that take this local foundation and start stealing money because they won't be really educated to why it's a people's thing anyway. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti. So what we're talking about is there has to be educational program. That's very important. As a matter of fact, it's so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have an education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You might get people caught up in the emotionalist movement. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more. And before you know it, they'll be capitalists. And before you know it, we have Negro imperialists.
This educational process is necessary, and it's the people that will cause the revolution, and it's the people that will cause the change in the country. It's simply the vanguard of the revolution, and we plan to teach the people the strategy and the necessary tools to liberate themselves.
All right, so let's look at the schism. This is a counter-revolutionary tactic, whether intentionally or unintentionally. A broad-based definition of a schism is a separation or a division in factions. But as we look at time, how it's passed, and we see how schisms develop, they develop over the most mundane, emotionless situations. Schisms could be simply as just those in the ranks saying what they don't want to do, not wanting to follow orders, and one person voicing their opinion, which is usually coming from a moment of individualism. Someone not thinking consciously on how the overall mission is for the betterment of the group. When these people have an individualist mindset, a liberal mindset, and they go against revolutionary principles, they go against the order in which things are supposed to be, that which they volunteered to do, that which they said they were committed to implement. It messes up the natural order of the revolutionary tenets and of the revolutionary initiative. Oftentimes with schisms, it just doesn't break off and create factionalism. It creates infighting. This infighting can lead, often does every time, to breaking down the morale of the revolutionary group. It makes comrades pick sides. Now with this emotionalist, individualist order, creating communication breakdown, it blurs the line of revolutionary love. Think often in time, in your friend circle, when people move against each other and they pick which friends they're going to be friends with and who they're not going to be friends with, what usually happens? Throughout all of that arguing, they even forget what they were mad about. In this 21st century, schisms have caused the factionalism of the whole movement. You will have one main group that started some form of revolutionary action, and individualistic views come into play that create these divisions. Next thing you know, you're dealing with 5, 3, 4 different organizations coming out of this one group. Later on, after this, you're dealing with the residuals of this schism, the counter-revolutionary cannibalism. You're dealing with the silos. Let's look in history. You see what happened to the Panther 21. Due to leadership rising in the East Coast through the likes of the Shakur clan. Through the likes of the Central Committee, meeting them, not liking how things were run. They soon kicked them out. And then later on, as the BLA goes on, they are looked at as those who are beneath the order of things. And if anybody was to associate with them, then they too will be kicked out of the organization. From these schisms, we have a lot to realize. The main thing is we must prevent and identify and call out these bad habits, these bad elements that seek to weaken the credibility and that seek to weaken our unity of our revolutionary initiatives. Again, schisms are just not happenstance. Schisms come, it's a counter-revolutionary tactic. It moves against the initiative. It destroys the trust, the bond, and the unity amongst the organization and amongst the people. Counter-revolutionary cannibalism. This is the residuals of schisms. Have you ever seen an organization that is doing work, but all of a sudden, leaderships and personalities are arising, and now they're making public addresses, public statements to other personalities, other persons in leadership, where they're tearing them down, where they're talking about each other, where they're doing any and everything to discredit another person in the organization. It gets so out of control that it seems now that these public stances have now weakened the credibility of that organization. It has not made anybody associated or interested in that organization turned off. It runs people out of the ranks. It makes people not even want to say revolution. That's counter-revolutionary cannibalism. It's the process in which organization begins to eat itself. It begins to cut off its limbs, cut off its tongue, or like the saying goes, cut off its nose to spite its face. These traits should always be associated with people that are jockeying for positions, using the organization as a launch pad for their own personal gain, for their own personal agendas. It soon seems like that the organization is not even dwelling within revolutionary theory, like it's not even initiative-based, but it's just become a pissing match, a throwing shit match, to see which personality can discredit others and come out on top. In this 21st century, just look around. Many of the organizations we have seen, been a part of, heard of. Why is it a high turnover rate? Why does it seem like a game of musical chairs of leadership? Why are there people in leadership who stay in leadership 5 years, 10 years, 15, 12 plus years? And when it comes to them having the collective working responsibility with others, there's always a smear campaign, some way, somehow. Usually based on who's the best organization or who's the best person to help the people, quote unquote. This is counter-revolutionary cannibalism. It is the eating of each other, the eating of other groups, where you're backbiting, where you're slack-talking, where you are gossiping publicly to discredit other organizations and persons. As we kind of sit back and watch all of this being done, we see other persons, other organizations doing this debate, other organizations into internet games, to get them off their square, to get them mad. As we see this happening, we must ask ourselves, are these people really fit to lead? Not just on a revolutionary basis, are they even fit to lead on the organizational basis? If we come in and all of these situations are just based on personal gain, if they're just based on ones harming each other, talking down on each other, how do those that don't even have revolutionary ideology view them? What are they looking at them like? And what do they think of these organizations? It creates a complete meltdown and a dissatisfaction amongst the ranks and those who are interested in creating change. COINTELPRO would send letters to different organizations, would put out leaflets talking bad about other organizations to create conflict. As we've seen what happened with the Black Peace Stones in the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, COINTELPRO did this very tactic to create disunity from the alliances that was made with Fred Hampton, with Jeff Ford. They understood that exposing both groups to bad jacketing, backbiting, slack talking, they were hoping that they caused a internal rift in Chicago, in the state of Illinois, and that these two groups would fight one another. When this didn't happen, and the ties were strengthened, soon we would just see an all-out war with the intelligence community, with the enforcers of the judicial branch, the police, by the likes of Hammerhand, leading a full-on charge of the Black Panther Party, a full-on charge on the Vice Lords and the Black Peace Stones, arresting the leaders of these urban street organizations and nations. When we leave ourselves open to discredit one another, putting out leaflets of things that are really just petty. Some of the things that are said aren't even factual. It's usually personal differences. These expose the intelligence community. It also exposes others to internal rifts that can be exploited. And to capitalize on these internal rifts, not only just to discredit an organization, but to neutralize members, to neutralize leadership, and to create a hostile environment of physical conflict.